He went down, and then he came back up in that second half. And I think they bit off a little bit more they can chew. If they played a little bit more conservatively, especially in that overtime, and said, hey, we just need to get 10 yards. We need to get 10 yards and then 10 yards and then 10 yards. I think they could be in a much better spot.
It may be American Thanksgiving, but the Canadian Football League still served up a lot of turnovers in the beginning weekend of the 2021 CFL playoffs. Welcome back to another CFL weekly episode. I'm Brad, here with Chris. We're on the 11th island to give you all the CFL recap and analysis that you need this week.
Well, the Riders Stampeders game just ended, and we're rushing to get this out to everybody. So we're going to record. We haven't seen any of the OT ended. We hit record. So first, though, we're going to go back to 1 o'clock. A snowy day in Hamilton. Brad, what were you thinking of that Eastern semifinal?
Well, it was a game that I thought it was going to be a lot closer than it ended up being. I think the weather played a major factor here because in Southern Ontario, this is the first time we've seen snow yet this year. I assume it's the same for Montreal coming out of Quebec, that they haven't seen snow. So the players haven't been able to practice in the weather, and that's going to really affect the game here. And with Montreal, a team that, Stanback is one of the nominees for most outstanding player. So that kind of forced that you would think that they needed that running game to go, and that would kind of lean in Montreal's favor. Hamilton stifled that right away. And then that allowed them to put a lot of pressure on Trevor Harris during this game, which in turn, we're going into the turnovers here, but it from the start, Montreal just didn't have it.
Well, Steinbach has averaged only about 50 yards against Hamilton all season per game. So, they really started
but about 100 against everybody else, right?
Yeah, so they've really kind of figured him out well. If you looked at the Hamilton, anybody who reads the Hamilton Spectator saw, I think on Thursday, front page of the sports section was like, we need to stop the run game for the Alouettes. And then you wake up, I woke up, look outside the window, and there's a full layer of snow here in Southern Ontario. I couldn't believe it. That came out of nowhere. Hope people have their snow tires because Stanback apparently didn't.
Yeah, and that immediately too allowed Hamilton to bring the pressure. They have amazing edge rushers on that defense, so they were able to really go at the Trevor Harris, who really could not handle the pressure for the majority of this game. He fumbled 3 times, or he fumbled 4 times, I believe, gave up 3 of them. 1 was garbage time, but those 2 in the first half really changed the trajectory of this game. There were some timely fumbles where it was really swinging points there. And for a Montreal team that they were dominating the time of possession, they were in the first half, they were really out. Masoli didn't complete a pass till the second quarter. Montreal was really, statistically wise, everything but the turnover bar, they were dominating. They just would hand it over. And you give credit to Hamilton's defense for making the big plays when they needed to make the big plays. But if you're a Montreal fan, how much does this hurt knowing that I'm not saying Vernon Adams doesn't make these mistakes, but does Vernon Adams... Is this game change? If
I'm not saying Vernon Adams doesn't make these mistakes, but does Vernon Adams not make these mistakes?
Well, it's a situation that's your QB, and unfortunately, you had to go with Trevor Harris, who is a great QB in his own right, but he's not the QB that you started the year with and you wanted to end the year with, and this is what happened here.
Well, and you got to look at it. Does Vernon Adams do anything different behind that O-line? Or was it just, no O-line could have stopped the edge rushers of the Hamilton Tigers.
Vernon Adams' mobility helps a lot. I think Geno Lewis played an outstanding game. Okay, I think he reinforced he's the best wide receiver in the league. But how much more also, too, if Geno isn't as hampered by injuries as he is. He put up over 100 yards. He was playing lights out, but he's clearly injured. The rest of the receivers seem to be dropping balls left, right, and center. So it's a situation where there was not a lot going right. But for Hamilton too, Chris, can we stop the Masoli Dane Evans debate now? Do you think that's fair?
Yes and no. It's not a great temperature check in a cold weather game that's driven by defense to really say, okay, we're going to make some conclusive arguments about a quarterback battle that, I mean, we haven't even seen Dave like it's over now. It's just over now because it's too late. It's too late to go back and forth on who should be the starter in Hamilton. It's just Masoli, and it just the way things worked out, and we got to move on. We got to go into BMO Field if you're the Ticats, and you know, it's
Unless
over now. And defense is going to be defense wins championships. All Mazzoli has to do is get them halfway, not even halfway.
Masoli, today Masoli didn't necessarily play lights out great. He didn't lose them the game, and that's all you need to do with this Hamilton defense, especially when they're playing a game at home. When you got playmakers like Dylan Wynn, Jagarad Davis, Simone Lawrence, you just let them go out and make plays. You let them force turnovers, and you say, thank you for this great field position. I'm just not going to give it back, and we're going to ensure that points go up on the board.
And for the four big names that played QB, the big stars of the CFL that played QB, today, he was the only one that didn't throw a pick. So, that's all you got to do here. I mean, if it's going to be cold, it's going to be cold next week. The ball's going to have to stay on the ground a lot. You're going to have a situation where the QBs are going to be hanging around the pocket. You just have to not throw away the football. And defense is going to run the show. Hamilton really set themselves up for a win here in that cold weather. I think Mazzoli, Dane Evans talk, like, it doesn't really matter at this point. It's a non sequitur. He's not going to hurt you. He's not going to go out of his way to carry the team on his back either. And I think that's exactly what the Ticats need from their offense.
And I thought we buried that argument 2 weeks ago. The reason why I bring this up is because the TSN panel was bringing it before the game started. Like, this was a fresh new thing that they wanted to talk about. And, like, how long's the leash for Masoli? Like, if he goes out there and throws an incompletion, they might be throwing Dane Evans in. I'm going, well, I think we made this decision 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago at least that this is Masoli's team. Everybody knows it. Dane Evans has accepted this. It's not like Dane Evans is even trying to get in there. So we're past that. I think this is the last time. This is the last time we even bring it up here.
Yeah.
But for Hamilton, I think this is a situation where they are starting to put it. We've said they have the talent on this team. Brandon Banks had an up and down season, gets a touchdown today. Masoli up and down, starts playing a bit better today. The defense probably had one of their most complete games against a good team all year. They're putting it together. There's no better time to be putting it all together, and we know they have the talent. There's a lot of guys on this team from the season where they made it to the Grey Cup, were favored to win the Grey Cup over Winnipeg in 2019. A lot of people picked them to win it again this year. They're one game away from having a home Grey Cup. So
and I mean, they haven't. We're gonna get into next week a little bit later, but just to round off the point, I mean, they have had very bad luck, and the Argos have had great luck at BMO Field when these two teams have played each other. But at the same time, you can see a hunger where, okay, we just tasted playoffs in Hamilton for once more, we can get this in the Grey Cup. And I think that's going to drive them through. It's a very dangerous Hamilton Tiger Cats team coming out of this game. Final thoughts on that game, Brad?
Not much. I mean, entertainment value was definitely not the most entertaining game of the day. I felt like it was kind of decided early. Montreal kind of put up a little bit of a fight in the second half, but it feels for a lot of the thing that Montreal didn't get off the bus to start the game.
Off the plane.
Kind of feeling. Oh, I guess off the plane.
They take the plane everywhere.
But that's kind of how it felt for a lot of this game, and it's going to be a lot of soul searching going into the off season, and maybe some big decisions in Montreal, knowing that at this point now they haven't won a playoff game since 2014, the longest such streak in the entirety of the CFL.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on then to the bell of the ball when it comes to games. I got to take that off. There we go. Riders win in overtime, 33-30. Brad, how fun and exciting, and perhaps maybe the best game of the year was that? That came out bad. Was that game?
It was best game of the year to date, for sure. That had everything. The first half where it was just a circus show, and people were going, "This is terrible football," but it was fun. And then the second half where they just turned it around and played lights out. But to kind of start it all off here, the first half we're looking at I mean, I think some cornerbacks had more receiving yards than wide receivers here. Bo Levi was just throwing it away. Cody Fajardo was throwing to Moxie on the Stampeders more than his own wide receivers. He had 3 interceptions in the first half. One guy. It was just kind of it was circus show, right?
Yeah, it
And
looked like the time I tried to play Madden on hard mode, and
yeah,
uh, and,
you're
and it
looking at
felt like I thought that these teams had traded their QBs to each other before the game and forgot to tell anybody.
Yeah, it was a tough look. I mean, you had people were saying, do you bench Bo Levi here?
Yeah.
Fajardo, people were questioning Fajardo here, and it was going in the second half. I mean, we talk about Sean Lemon trying to punch some guy in the face at the end of the first half,
Hmm.
leading to an ejection here, a key piece of that Stampeders defense. I
Hmm.
mean, we're going in the second half going, what are we going to see? What shenanigans? And then Saskatchewan starts it off with an onside kick that they receive, immediately drive down, score a touchdown.
Hmm.
I mean, what'd you think of that decision, Chris?
Yeah, I mean that onside kick was like, ooh, that was exciting because I mean the placement of you were up 25 yards, so even if you gave up the ball there, it's not a big
Hmm.
deal. It's
Hmm.
realistically you're just like, okay, that was a good return in a
Hmm.
normal situation, and you got to think too. You have teams that are messing up, teams that are making mistakes all through this
Hmm.
game. That loans itself to fumbling an onside kick. And then
Yeah.
also you add into not only are you messing up the game, one of your key pieces just punched a guy in the face, and that's what's going to be stewing in that locker room the whole time. It's not, hey, we're so close in this game. We're so much there. We just got to edge forward. It's, hey, one of our best defensive players is packing his stuff up, and we're just watch him in the corner. And who knows if he'll be on the field at all again for the rest of this playoff. Like if this might be the end of his season, might be the end of ours in 2 quarters. That's the kind of thing that's going on in your head, and then to come out and see, oh, they're really like challenging us here. They're putting the stick on their shoulder and saying, knock it off, take this onside kick, and it was a very great move from the Rough Riders.
Yeah, Craig Dickinson made the right call. It was a
Mm-hmm.
gutsy call, but it was very much the right decision here. And you're right with the Stampeders there. That mentality of Sean Lemon throwing a bare-fisted punch at a guy wearing a face mask, getting himself kicked out of the game, that changed a lot of the mentality in that locker room. And I think if we look back now, having seen the whole game, if that doesn't happen, there very well might be a different ending to this game. And Sean Lemon, there's no excuse for a veteran player to do that. It's quite frankly embarrassing in that situation to let your team down with such a selfish move. And then in the second half, though, Fajardo, we're going to look box score watch,
Mm-hmm.
189 yards passing, 4 interceptions. It looks terrible. And at points, he was really bad this game. The
Mm-hmm.
second half, with his feet and a lot of his passing, he was playing really well until it's just he was so good until he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
He would just force balls in, turn it over, and you would go that beautiful drive is just for naught here. But Fajardo is the reason why the Rough Riders are quite their defense, obviously, but Fajardo kept them in this game, and
Mm-hmm.
Bo Levi too started sit back down, Jake Meyer. I'm still here. He started balling out in the second half as well,
Mm-hmm.
kind of putting a lot of doubters to rest. But the Stampeders almost looked like they were going to get away with this game. Hey, Chris?
Yeah, and I think I wonder at a few times when Bo Levi started to heat up, become the Bo Levi Mitchell that we know and love and we count on to show up in the
Hmm.
playoffs. I think he got a little bit of confidence, and then almost there was a few plays where he bit off more than he could chew. I look back at that overtime, that one where like that one round of overtime where they just went right for the bomb, and it was you threw into double coverage out of bounds,
Yeah.
and it's just like, yeah, you're trying to just surprise them, catch them on their feet, but the Rough Riders knew what you were doing, and you just wasted a play. And I think there's a few points in there that you look at it and you're like, man, you really kind of overextended yourself. And I think a lot of confidence came back. He went down, and then he came back up in that second half, And I think they bit off a little bit more they can chew. If they played a little bit more conservatively, especially in that overtime, and said, hey, we just need to get 10 yards. We need to get 10 yards and then 10 yards and then 10 yards. I think they could be in a much better spot because their short pass game was looking really good, really strong. Bo Levi was hitting his spots. Yeah, he hit a couple bombs that you say, oh, we're going to do the highlight reel here, but I think he should have kept it simple going into that overtime. So I love what I saw from Bo Levi Mitchell, but I wish he just kind of took it back a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's tough when you got QBs starting to air it out after we're going. Every time you throw the ball, I'm wondering if there's going to be interception after the first half there. And the way that, I mean, it became a shootout to end it in regulation here, going back and forth. And to overtime, I agree with you. The ones to Beggleton, where he did it twice, he forced into double coverage where it stalled the drive immediately. And Paredes, where I know you got a lot of faith in him because he's one of the best kickers in the league, but he missed 2 field goals that weren't very difficult in the first half. He's clearly shaken up, ends up missing that last one in overtime. Like, it's a situation where you forcing the guy into a long, like 48-yard field goal because you're taking shots on 1st and 10 instead of just trying to get a first down.
Yeah,
make that, at least make a field goal easier.
And you can't. I mean, that when they got stopped, what was it? 2nd and 2, 2nd and 1. I think it was 2nd and 1. They lost yardage there. I mean,
Yes.
you can't be doing. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, and this might be my brain playing tricks on me, but I picture it. I look back at the play, and they were lining up shotgun. It's I get you're trying to fool people, but you can't be losing that much yardage just to get the QB the ball on a play like that.
Are you talking about the one at the end of regulation?
No, in overtime.
The field goal okay. So I mean, we can even go back to regulation too. The field goal that they kicked to tie it, to send it to overtime, was a lot harder than it needed to be because they had a 2nd and 3. Bo Levi takes about a 15-yard sack.
Yeah.
Where is it on Bo Levi? Probably not, because the O-line just let them run right through. But you can't be, I mean, on offense, you can't be taking sacks at that time, making that field goal so much more difficult.
If you know a field goal's a play away, and there's a point where you have to just fall on the sword. Like, you have to stop running away from the defenseman. You know, you have to, you just have to lean into it, because you got to say, oh, I can't throw this away anymore. And I just got to crumble, but you fall back. Like, you're going down. At that point, I mean, just some of the situational awareness and just the decision making from the Stampeders. And I mean, you pair that with some really bad penalties throughout the game that Stampeder players took, and it's a really unfortunate way to end your season.
Yeah, it's for a lot of the times during this game, it felt like neither team wanted to win the game. It felt like either one went, we know we're going to lose in Winnipeg, so why even try now? That's what it felt like for a lot of it. And at the end of the day, Saskatchewan just turned it up a bit more in the second half. In overtime, they were able to make the plays, get it done. All props to Saskatchewan here. It's a tough look when you got a 4-interception QB going to face the best defense in the league next week, coming off a bye. But I mean, crazier things have happened. This is the CFL, but it's Saskatchewan. I mean, I'm gonna get roasted here in the comments. I harped so long all year long about Calgary, and I roasted Saskatchewan, and I said that we didn't know what Saskatchewan was. In all fairness, after that game, we still don't know what they are, what type of football team they are. But I said, Calgary, you don't want to face Bo Levi in Calgary in the playoffs. Turns out they're not a bad team to play, because Bo Levi will hand you the ball a lot, and the kicker is going to miss easy field goals. But it's Calgary. I think they look at this. We'll get into the losers here. I guess right now we can roll into it. Unless you got anything else to say in that game.
I mean, comment below. I would like to hear people like Stampeders fans, if there's any in the comments. Just like, we ragged pretty hard on Calgary there. At the end of the day, we picked Calgary to win. I was rooting for Calgary. We love Jameer Thurman, friend of the program. We really enjoy watching him play. That pick that he had was amazing. really fun game from the Calgary Stampeders. And of course, when the final bell rings and there's one team on top, the loser, you're just going to focus on why you lost the game, not why did you put yourself in a position to win that game until the very last second. So I just want to hear from Stampeders fans. What is your outlook on your team? Were you feeling those mistakes as you were going through the game, or are we being too harsh? Basically, let us know in the comments below. Feel free to be as harsh with us as we were to your team, or be nice to us. I don't know, but anyways, let's speaking of the Stampeders now. Let's talk about what you like the outlook on the season.
So, like for the Stampeders, we'll stick on them before we get over from Montreal. If you went back to after the 7th game when they were 2-5 and said to the Stampeders, "You're going to make the playoffs and you're going to have a hell of a game," I think a lot of fans would probably be happy with that. At 2-5, they were looking at missing the playoffs here. At this point, with the outlook that you have on the season, knowing the talent that was on that roster, the potential that was there, I think this is a very disappointing season. They had all the potential in the world to win this game in Saskatchewan. They probably should have, and they could have. Anything can happen. You can give Winnipeg a good fight and then find yourself in the Grey Cup. So I think you got to be disappointed, and you got to really be concerned about Bo Levi Mitchell. This is a guy where QB has just been locked in. You haven't had to worry about it for years now in Calgary, and now it's a real question mark. Where is there something wrong with Bo Levi Mitchell, or is he still injured? Is he going to be able to get back to proper form? Are we going to have to look for another QB? There's a lot of questions in Calgary right now. And I think it all starts with the QB right now.
And I think that right now, I mean, everyone's going to pack up. Bo Levi is going to go back to the States. He's going to, there's a month's going to go by. Grey Cup's going to happen. That's going to take the spotlight. And then things are going to die down. CFL fades. We start talking about it less on our show. TSN starts talking about it. And then when in the quiet, Bo Levi is going to come out and say, hey, XYZ, I was dealing with these injuries. I think there's definitely something going on. You just look at the way the season started and how he came back, still injured, still very much injured. I think there's something going on, and we're going to hear about it, and things are going to make more sense. And whether that means, we can fix these problems for next season, or, hey, we really got to start thinking about Jake Maier here in Calgary. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I was just going to say this would be a second straight season where injury riddled, coming off of a 2020 where he was able to completely rest his body, and he's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And Father Time's undefeated. So at some point it's going to get to him, and if he's getting that beat up, it might be getting to him sooner rather than later. And I think that at Calgary, you got the talent on your roster. You got a good coach. If Bo Levi or even any QB that can be very good in Calgary, even in a tough Western Conference, you're still going to be competitive in the playoff hunt and potentially hosting a playoff game come 2022.
Well, if they're talking on the broadcast going into the second half of that game about do we put in Jake Maier? Do they put in Jake Maier? You got to think Calgary, you're in a pretty good QB situation, whatever happens with Bo Levi Mitchell. I mean, Jake Maier, one of the really standout surprises of this season, and the way he carried this team. I mean, a lot of the reasons why Calgary has a playoff game is because of Jake Maier. So I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered in the next couple months for Calgary, but a lot of optimism you have to have going into 2022.
Yep.
Now I'm thinking about the Alouettes, and this is where my head's at on the Alouettes. Right, you have a team that has geared so much around its offense, and it's an offense that was in the works and being practiced. Like they were preparing for this season well before the league was even announced to be coming back. I mean, Vernon Adams bringing the receiver core out, really working with them, and that showed from week one. I mean, this has been one of the most exciting offenses to watch. I mean, 5 of the 10 highlights from this season are Alouettes plays, and I mean, probably 4 of them are if not more, Geno Lewis plays. But you
Yes.
know, such a fun team. We've called them a dark horse on this program this whole season. The live dogs wherever they go, and you lose Vernon Adams. We talked about just being unlucky coming into this stretch, a bad weather game in Hamilton, blackout. Where do you go from here, Brad?
Well, it's similar. It starts and ends with the QB discussion here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that where it's going into this, there was a lot of talk if Trevor Harris takes him on a run here, kind of a Caleros and Winnipeg type of run. Do they stick with him and trade Vernon Adams? We even before this game said that we thought they should have stayed with Vernon Adams. This game just solidified it. They're going to move on from Trevor Harris. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to bring Vernon Adams back healthy, see what he can do. So I think with that decision right away, you got to move on from Trevor Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's with his contract, I'm not sure the details, if he can just be cut and let the money go loose and not owe him anything, or trade him. I've said for quite a long time, Trevor Harris is the next starting QB for the Ottawa Redblacks. Makes too much sense for that team. I think you're calling up Ottawa's interim general manager, if they've hired one yet, tomorrow, and you're trying to make that deal. Elsewise, your wide receiver core, provided you can bring them all back, which I think with some of the talent might be difficult, especially with the Geno Lewis, who might be looking south. If you're able to bring them back, you don't need to do much there. The offensive line, the way it played today, you might need to fill some holes there. Defense, you make upgrades there. I agree, but this is a situation where their decision making is going to very much rely on how Vernon Adams is healed and how they're able to move Trevor Harris. And I mean, if they decide to go with Trevor Harris, that would be a shock. That would be a shock to me, wouldn't it be to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think to see Vernon Adams on the sidelines of each and every one of these games, basically being a stand-in coach wherever he needs to be, talking up Harris, talking up the defense, talking up his wide receivers, being so active in these games has been one of the coolest things to watch about the Alouettes, and why there's a part of you that just wants these guys to pull it out, because this is still Vernon Adams' team, and he is still the leader here. And even Trevor Harris has to respect, and I mean, I think he does respect Vernon Adams' authority on the team and his position as the face of this team right now. And I think that's going to carry over. And I think that Vernon Adams is going to put in twice the amount of work in this offseason, not only into getting healthy, but then getting onto the same page with his wide receivers, just like he did last year, except now the postseason's fresher in their mind. They're not coming off a whole year off. Everything's fresher. You know what the landscape of that Eastern Division looks like, and I think they're going to come out of the gate very strong next year, led by Vernon Adams Jr.
I agree, and we can expect that an Ottawa Redblacks team is not going to make some substantial upgrades, and that Montreal is going to easily slot in at worst at the third spot again. So they're looking at playoffs again in 2022, and it's just putting themselves in the best situation and maybe being slide up to 2 or 1 and get that home spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the East, from what we've seen this year, the East is anybody's game. No matter what happens in this finals, whatever happens in the Grey Cup, I'm very excited already for 2022 in the East and in the West after that finals. I think there's going to be some very bad blood going into next season between the Prairie teams.
Yes.
All right, so now we're gonna do a little role playing session. I'm pressing 3. I need to be pressing 4. All right, we're gonna be doing a role playing session. All right. So first off, you're Coach Dinwiddie watching that game for the Argos. The Ticats game. What are you thinking from that game? What's your initial reaction?
From the perspective of the Argos,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there looking at, well, we're going to be able to face a team that we already beat 3 times. And we beat them twice, where we're about to play them next week. You're looking at a team where on defense they played well, but we've put points on the board against them. And on offense, they're still not going at 100%. So I think that we can go in and stop them. And as tough as it is, I mean, it sounds weird. You're playing a team 5 times in a football season. That's In professional football, that's pretty unheard of. And to beat a team 4 times is going to be difficult, especially when the talent-wise, they're pretty similar. But
Mhm.
you're carrying all the momentum. This was a chippy game between Montreal and Hamilton. These guys are going to be Hamilton was playing up until the last week, until the last minute. They thought that their last game of the season was going to mean something.
Mhm.
They're far more beat up. Toronto's coming off damn near 3 weeks off here.
Mhm.
They have all the rest in the world. They have all the momentum in the world, and they got the record from this season against Hamilton that they know is up against it, and they got home field advantage. All things favor Toronto here, which might mean that Hamilton goes in and smokes them. But I think if you're Ryan Dimler, you got to go to the team and be like, this is our game to lose. Here's all the reasons why we can win. We're like this. We should go in here and play our football. Done what we've done all season long against this team. We've proven that we can win this, and let's go in and do it.
Yeah, and I think that 23 points that the Ticats put up against the Alouettes, I mean, I think the
Mhm.
Argos have a better defense than the Alouettes, and also, I mean, 20 points, around 20 points is something that the Argos have been comfortably able to afford to give up at BMO
Mhm.
Field. I think that this is a defense in the Argos that has proven it can score points. I think that the Ticats they're gonna have to come really hungry to BMO Field because it's gonna be a
Mhm.
tough game. Now, you're Coach O'Shea watching
Yeah.
for the Bombers, watching that West semifinal.
Well, I'm looking at those QBs just throwing the ball all around, going, doesn't matter who wins this game. I could leave my offense at home, just show up with the defense, and they might outscore the offense by themselves on like pick sixes and fumble returns. I think
Mhm.
this, if you're O'Shea, if you're Mike O'Shea, you know what your team's capable of, what this defense is capable of. You just got to go in there and it's like just do your job. Winnipeg should win this game, but they can't let themselves think that, because that's how you get, especially coming off the last 2 regular season games. I know they're playing all their backups, but just getting that weird mentality. You gotta shock the system, get back to normal. Everything's brand new here. We gotta put the pedal to the metal from the start of this game. And if they do that, this defense might get 20 points by themselves and
Mhm.
might not let 3, because Saskatchewan and Fajardo were not. They put up 33 points, but they weren't looking in sync. We talked about the 4 interceptions. Do you think that Winnipeg is, if Calgary's getting 4 interceptions, what do you think Winnipeg's going to get? And then you think Colorado's is not gonna score points off every single one of those too?
Mhm. And also, I mean, Colaros for as good as, and you called him a game manager way early in the season, kind of came back to bite you. But that's not to say
Yes.
that Zach Colaros can't be a game manager and knows when to get out of his own way when it comes to just keeping a game moving. When the defense, I mean, I think he's not going to make any mistakes. That's the bigger thing. Whether he can take advantage of every single one of the Rough Riders' mistakes, he's not going to make any of his own. And I think that is going to lead to a situation where the Rough Riders can't take anything for granted. They have to take advantage of every opportunity because there's going to be few opportunities. And if you're Coach O'Shea, you're feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, that game manager in a season full of bad takes from this podcast, that might be the worst of them all, because he immediately after that just started putting up MVP type numbers, or sorry, MOP type numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and is going to take it home in a few weeks before the Grey Cup. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't think Winnipeg's not worried. They're not shaking over there. They know all they got to do is just show up, do their job. They should win this game. It's Saskatchewan that is immediately after that game ends going, oh no, we got a real uphill battle
Yeah,
here.
and Ryan's already in the comments posting his picks, and it's like Winnipeg's gonna score 85 points. But anyways,
Yes.
speaking of picks, let's move on. We won't. We basically covered our picks already. I think people know where we're leaning, but we're gonna wait until we have a special preview episode. We're doing 2 CFL shows this week,
Hmm.
Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna be
Hmm.
talking about all the stuff from going into these finals games. We're going to be talking about maybe some tailgate information where if you're a fan, what's going to be going on for the tailgate parties. We're going to do some research, reach out to some people, get some info on that. And then also, I mean, the picks, who's going to win, maybe a weather report about what's going on, all the information you need to know. If you're a gambler, you're making picks, we're going to have all the details. If you're a fan, you want to have the best finals viewing experience, or you're going to the games, you want to say, anything, we're gonna cover it all. It's gonna be fantastic, and you got to check it out Wednesday at 5.
Yeah, we kind of have to let a little bit more news during the week. I mean, last week we missed levels guaranteeing a win for Montreal.
Yes.
So we weren't able to cover that. So it's a situation where people are going to say some dumb things during the week.
Yeah.
We got to let them say it so we can talk about it and give the picks. So that, again, like Chris said, 5 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to check it out. Anything else you got, Chris?
Nope, that's it. Brad, tell the people what they need to do now that video's over, and then we'll say goodbye.
All right. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like the CFL content. Like Chris said, we're coming out with a lot more now that the playoffs are here. If you like immediate reactions for UFC and boxing stuff, make sure to check us out as well. MMA Weekly Show starts this week. Make sure to check that out. Should be up Tuesday. 500 subscriber giveaway coming up. Follow us on Instagram at 11th Island. And we will see you later. We'll talk to you.
See you later, everybody.